The vast expanse of the Galactic Council's grand chamber shimmered with the light of distant stars, casting an otherworldly glow over the assembly. Delegates from various star systems sat in their designated seats, all eyes drawn to the towering figure of High Counselor Vex Tara, a being with 7 arms and violet skin, radiating authority. As she raised one of her appendages, the chamber fell into silence. "Order! Order!" Vex Tara's voice boomed, resonating through the crystalline dome above. "We will now address the matter of Earth's petition for full council membership." From my observation pod, I could see the human delegation below, looking unusually relaxed. Trade Minister Bryn Calloway, Earth's chief representative, had an almost smug smile on her face as she sat comfortably among her peers. I couldn't help but feel a pang of curiosity. Why did these humans seem so calm when their future in the Galactic Council was hanging by a thread? I, Ambassador Krill Nova, had watched these humans for over 300 cycles. I knew them well enough to recognize that today would be different. This wasn't just any petition. It was Earth's moment to prove its place among the stars, or be crushed beneath the weight of galactic bureaucracy. High Counselor Vex Tara continued, her voice dripping with disdain. The Council has reviewed Earth's petition extensively. We have found their civilization wanting. A ripple of murmurs spread through the chamber, but I stayed focused, my sensory tendrils quivering in anticipation. This was no ordinary rejection. Humans were too unpredictable, too ambitious, and, as many feared, too dangerous. I watched as Trade Minister Calloway stood, her posture relaxed, her smile unshaken. Would the Council care to elaborate on their findings? Vex Tara's skin shifted to a deeper shade of purple, the color of irritation. Earth's technological advancement rate exceeds acceptable parameters, she said, her voice thick with authority. Your species developed faster than light travel mere decades after achieving spaceflight. This pace is concerning. Concerning? Calloway raised an eyebrow, her smile widening. I believe the word you're looking for is impressive. Gasps echoed through the chamber as the humans dared to challenge the High Counselor. I felt my tendrils stiffen in surprise. No one spoke to the High Counselor like that. Yet Calloway's calm demeanor remained unbroken, as if she had already won this battle before it had even begun. Furthermore, Vex Tara continued, visibly irritated. Your species displays alarming levels of adaptability and military potential. The Council cannot risk admitting a potentially destabilizing force into our ranks. Calloway chuckled softly, her voice carrying clearly across the chamber. Well, High Counselor, thank you for your candid assessment. Earth appreciates your honesty. And with that, she shocked us all. We hereby withdraw all diplomatic presence from Council space effective immediately. The room fell silent. You what? Vex Tara stammered, her voice betraying the shock she must have felt. Calloway's smile grew wider, almost predatory. We're done here. Oh, and one more thing. She turned, her team following her toward the exit. You might want to check your trading algorithms. I have a feeling they're about to get very interesting. The human delegation walked out, leaving behind a stunned council. They didn't walk like petitioners who had been rejected. They walked like winners. They had played a game, and they had already won. Vex Tara regained her composure quickly, her skin pulsing with renewed authority. Let the record show that Earth has chosen isolation. They will learn the cost of defying Council wisdom. But as I observed the human delegation leave, something gnawed at me. Something about this felt off. Trade Minister Calloway's confident smile, her calm composure. It was too prepared. Too perfect. I activated my private comms channel and sent a message to my team. Recommend immediate review of all human trading patterns for the past 5 cycles. I have a feeling we've missed something obvious. By the time we figure it out, it will be far too late. The chamber continued to bustle with discussion, but my mind was elsewhere. Earth had just made its first move in a game no one else knew was being played. And judging by Calloway's smile, they had already planned it all along. The next 10 cycles were a blur. As an ambassador tasked with monitoring human activity, I watched with increasing dread as the situation unfolded. Earth's unexpected withdrawal from the Galactic Council was only the beginning. I continued to track their every move, gathering data, analyzing patterns, and trying to understand what exactly Earth was planning. The Council, meanwhile, dismissed my concerns. High Counselor Vex Tara's voice still echoed in my memory, dismissing my latest reports as mere paranoia. "The humans are posturing," she had said, waving away my data. "Their withdrawal is nothing more than a tantrum." But deep down, I knew better. There was something more to this than mere posturing. The humans weren't retreating. They were building. I presented my latest findings to the Council. On the large display in the center of the chamber, I showed the rerouted human trade patterns. In the past 3 cycles alone, human corporations have canceled 90% of their contracts with Council worlds, I said, my voice steady despite the growing unease within me. But here's the interesting part. They're not stopping trade. They're rerouting it. Council member Zix F leaned forward, her eyes narrowing in curiosity. "Where are they rerouting it?" "To the Outer Rim," I said, projecting the data. Supposedly primitive worlds, worlds we considered inconsequential, are suddenly developing at an unprecedented rate. Take a look. A massive space station flickered on the screen, an enormous structure orbiting a once-forgotten planet. Its design was clean, efficient, and unlike anything else in the galaxy. "How did they build this?" Vex Tara demanded, her voice laced with suspicion. Her skin patterns shifted to a darker hue, showing the first signs of real concern. "That's just it," I said, letting the words settle. "According to our intelligence, this station went from initial construction to full operation in under 60 days. Not only that, it's larger and more efficient than anything we've built in the Outer Rim." The Council erupted in laughter, but I could see through it. The dismissive tones couldn't hide the growing tension in the room. "Impossible," one of the junior counselors said. "Such a structure would take at least 3 cycles to complete." "Unless," Zix F interrupted, her voice thoughtful. "They had been preparing the components in secret, storing them in seemingly harmless cargo containers across multiple systems, waiting for the right moment." I nodded, the realization dawning on everyone present. Exactly. They were waiting for the Council to reject them. I paused for a moment, letting the weight of the situation sink in. "And look at this," I added, projecting another set of data. "Human trading algorithms. They've been analyzing our economic systems for cycles, learning to beat us at our own game. And now, they're offering better rates, faster shipping, and fewer restrictions to any world willing to trade outside of Council jurisdiction." The room fell into silence. Zix F's crystalline eyes fixed on the data, her expression unreadable. "They've created a parallel economy," she murmured. "Not just a parallel economy," I replied, my voice growing tense. "They've learned to compete with us, and they're doing it faster and better than we ever imagined." Vex Tara's skin turned an alarming shade of deep purple. "This is unacceptable. We must show them the consequences of such defiance." I could sense the urgency in her voice. But in that moment, I knew it was already too late. The tension in the Galactic Council was palpable. Every cycle, reports of human expansion in the Outer Rim flooded in, And with each new development, the Council's frustration grew. But it wasn't just frustration. It was fear. Fear of a power that could no longer be ignored, a force that had once been an afterthought, but was now a rising star in the galaxy. In private sessions, I was bombarded with requests from the Council to address the growing threat. "We must act," High Counselor Vex Tara insisted, her voice strained, barely holding on to control. "Their defiance cannot go unchecked." But no matter how many reports I filed, no matter how many warnings I issued, the Council remained in denial. They saw humans as reckless and unpredictable, yes, but they also underestimated them. And that, I knew, would be our downfall. Over the past few cycles, the human cooperative had exploded in both size and influence. The Outer Rim, once considered a barren frontier, was now teeming with bustling human trade hubs, thriving colonies, and more shockingly, entire planets converting to their economic model. One of the most alarming developments was the creation of the Nexus Hub. Located near Proxima Centauri, this massive space station had transformed the way trade was conducted. What had taken our most experienced traders months to organize, the humans were doing in a day. Without the bureaucratic red tape or corruption that plagued our system, their automated systems had removed the inefficiencies that had defined the Council's trade empire for millennia. I presented my latest findings to the Council, projecting images of the Nexus Hub's operations. Ships moved in and out with unparalleled speed, automated drones unloading cargo with efficiency the likes of which we had never seen. "Where are the customs inspectors?" Vex Tara demanded, her voice growing more frantic. "Where are the security checks?" "There aren't any," I replied, my voice steady despite the chaos unfolding in the chamber. The humans designed a system based on what traders actually need: speed, efficiency, and fairness. There's no bureaucracy, no pointless regulations. They've built a system for the future, and they're already outperforming us. The Council erupted in anger and disbelief. "This is impossible," one junior counselor shouted. "The humans cannot be allowed to continue disrupting our economy." But as I watched the Council scramble, a dark realization crept over me. They were already too late. In the following cycles, more reports flooded in. New colonies joining the cooperative, former Council worlds openly aligning with human corporations. The most disturbing of all, however, was the steady increase in citizens from Council space requesting visas to human space. What had once been a few scattered defectors was now a full-blown migration. "They're not isolating themselves," Zix F said quietly, her voice filled with reluctant awe. "They're isolating us." The words hung in the air, a bitter truth that we had all been too blind to see. The humans had outsmarted us. They hadn't been seeking to join our empire. They had been preparing to replace it. As the Council scrambled to respond, I watched the economic impact ripple across our systems. The human cooperative was booming, and our worlds were beginning to crumble. The once thriving trade routes of the Proxima sector lay almost empty, while the human-controlled lanes were full of traffic. Their network was a seamless web of commerce, knowledge, and innovation, one that we could neither stop nor understand. I received an emergency transmission just as the Council began discussing the possibility of sanctions. It was from Junior Ambassador Rax Wendell, his voice laced with panic. "Ambassador Krill Nova," he said urgently. "We've just received the latest report. The humans—" "What now?" I asked, already fearing the worst. "They've just announced a new initiative," Wendell continued. "They're calling it the Liberation Protocol. It's a new network for faster-than-light communication, a quantum entanglement system that will break our monopoly on interstellar communication. And they're offering it to anyone who's willing to leave the Council." My tendrils froze in shock. They're building their own communications infrastructure? I asked. One we can't monitor, one we can't control. Wendell's voice shook as he confirmed. Yes, it's happening right now. The council was in chaos. We had long relied on controlling communication across the galaxy as one of our greatest powers. Now, in the span of a few cycles, the humans had shattered that power. And worse, they were offering it freely to any world willing to abandon the council's rule. They're building an empire, I said slowly, watching the realization spread across the faces of the council members. But not like ours. They're building something different, something better. Vextara slammed her fist onto the table, her frustration boiling over. We must stop them! We cannot allow this! But it was too late. The humans had already won the first battle, and now they were moving swiftly toward victory. Their model of trade, cooperation, and shared knowledge was sweeping the galaxy, leaving our rigid systems of control in its wake. I left the council chambers that day with a heavy heart, knowing that the galaxy was on the brink of something new, something we were powerless to stop. The council was in disarray. The realization that we had misjudged the humans had begun to sink in. But the full scope of their intentions was still not clear. It wasn't just their economy that was outperforming ours. It was their vision, their technology, their ability to move faster than any of us could anticipate. Their ambition was not limited to trade or military power. It was a transformation of the very fabric of galactic civilization. The humans were rewriting the rules, and the worst part was that they weren't doing it with weapons or conquest. They were doing it with cooperation, innovation, and freedom. Values we had long dismissed as naive and impractical. As the council scrambled to impose sanctions and retaliate, the humans were already taking steps to secure their future. Steps we were too blind to recognize until it was too late. The final straw came when Earth unveiled their planetary restoration initiative. They weren't just offering trade deals. They were offering to restore dying worlds. Worlds that had been abandoned by the Council. Terraforming technology, once thought to be a distant dream, was now a reality. What had taken our best scientists 50 cycles to barely begin achieving, Earth had perfected in less than one. I stood in the council chamber, watching the latest broadcast from Trade Minister Bryn Calloway, her smiling face filling the central screen. Behind her, a thriving colony of once desolate planets bloomed with life, lush forests, clear blue skies, thriving ecosystems. It was a sight that made my tendrils curl with disbelief. We believe in the power of second chances, Calloway said, her voice calm and filled with purpose. We offer our terraforming services to any world willing to join us in the United Systems Alliance. The door is open to all who believe in progress, innovation, and the freedom to choose their own path. The council was stunned into silence. How is this possible? Vextara spat, her skin turning an alarming shade of deep violet. They're not just creating an economy, they're creating a new civilization. Yes, I said, my voice quiet, but filled with a heavy weight of understanding. And they're doing it on their terms, not ours. They've shown the galaxy that their way works. And the most terrifying part of it all? They're offering it to everyone, freely. The Council had always operated under the assumption that power came through control. Control of information, control of resources, control of trade. But the humans had built something different. An empire based not on domination, but on shared knowledge, open trade, and equality. As I walked through the empty corridors of the council building later that cycle, I couldn't shake the feeling that we had just witnessed the dawn of a new era. Earth was no longer a petitioner seeking approval. It had become a force to be reckoned with. They had taken our rejection, and used it as the foundation for something that had the potential to reshape the galaxy itself. In the following cycles, Earth's influence spread like wildfire. New colonies in the Outer Rim were joining the human cooperative, abandoning the Council's traditional hierarchical structure in favor of the humans' open, cooperative system. The Nexus Hub, once a symbol of human ambition, had become the heart of their trade network, processing more cargo in a day than our largest ports handled in a month. But it wasn't just trade. The Alliance was more than an economic entity. It was a cultural revolution. The Liberation Protocol, which promised free and open communication to any world that joined, was shaking the foundations of the Council's control. Worlds that had once been bound by the Council's decrees were now signing up for citizenship in the United Systems Alliance, leaving the Council in a state of utter confusion. How did they do it? Vextara's voice was hollow as she spoke to the remaining members of the Council. They didn't just compete with us, Zix F responded, her voice filled with reluctant admiration. They redefined what it meant to be a galactic power. I had come to a realization, one that had been growing in me for cycles. The human model wasn't just an alternative to the Council's order, it was better. It was more efficient, more equitable, and more sustainable. The humans were offering a future where every world, no matter how small, had a voice, and no one was left behind. And that terrified the Council. Then came the announcement that shook the very core of the Galactic Council. On a broadcast that would go down in history as one of the most pivotal moments in galactic history, Bryn Calloway stood before a massive crowd, smiling as usual. Behind her was the banner of the United Systems Alliance, a new flag, a symbol of a new order. Today, she said, we begin a new chapter for the galaxy. The United Systems Alliance is open to all who wish to join us. We will not ask for your compliance. We will offer you the opportunity to be part of something greater. Together, we will forge a future where all worlds can thrive in peace, prosperity, and freedom. I watched in stunned silence, knowing that this was the moment when everything changed. The Council had failed to see it coming, and now the galaxy would be reshaped in ways we could never have imagined. Even as Vextara screamed in frustration, I realized something. The humans had never sought our power, never wanted our throne. They had simply wanted freedom, and now they had it. The broadcast ended, and the room fell into stunned silence. For the first time in centuries, the Council was no longer the center of the galaxy, and the most profound revelation was yet to come.